PPP. You say awake. PPP. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Maxwell Ahenkra. He's done a wonderful job. At least he's lived by the time. And so we'll have some few minutes for questions. If you have any question for Mr. Ahenkra, you come forward, you mention your name, the institution that you represent, and then you fire. Now, before that, let me crave your indulgence to acknowledge the presence of the Registrar of Takoradi Polytechnic, Mrs. Opong Mensah, who is in our presence. Thank you for coming. We also have other political parties now coming in. So we've been joined by the New Patriotic Party, a representative of the largest opposition, New Patriotic Party. And so we'll go with the program. The next on the bill is the representative of the Convention People's Party, Mr. Tete Ehiawe. He is the member of the Regional Communication Team and the youth leg of the CPP. Let's give him a welcoming.
Thank you very much. I will start my presentation with a quote from the greatest son of Africa and the founder of this nation. This is the preamble to the 7-year development plan, which was abandoned, that has ensured that Ghana has remained the hewers of wood and drawers of water. This is what he said. Our aim is to establish in Ghana a strong society in which no one will have any anxiety about the basic means of life, about work, food, and shelter, where poverty and illiteracy no longer exist and disease is brought under control, and where our educational facilities provide all our children with the best possibilities and opportunities for the development of their potential. This quotation, which is over 40 years old, is as relevant today as it was at the time it was made. And it is based on that premise that CPP designed her policy for the future of this nation. And our policies are tailored to be premised on our ideology, which is Pan-Africanism, social justice, and national self-determination. We think that every human being in Ghana, it doesn't matter wherever you are born, whether to the rich or poor, to the man in the village or the man in the city, nothing should impede you from growing to the highest level of your ability. And that is social justice. When you talk about national self-determination, we are talking about the fact that this nation, even after 55 years, we are a neo-colonialist nation because our policies and programs are designed and pushed down our throats from Washington and from Europe. Because of that, we are not able to take any meaningful step and any radical transformation of our economy. We hear politicians touting macroeconomic achievements as if that is an end in itself, because every basic student in development economics will tell you that development goes beyond growth, because growth that is not backed by structural transformation of the nation that will affect the very marginalized and vulnerable in the society is a bogus growth, because you can develop at whatever rate. You can grow at whatever rate, whether 40%, even 20%. But ask yourself, why is it that this so-called growth has not translated into the life of you who is listening to me at this time? China, we always say, is growing an average of 10%. But because that growth has a structural transformation of their economy, the average Chinese person's life is far better than the Ghanaian. Even though 2011, we grew at 14%. China grew at 8.7%. But you and I acknowledge that the economy of Ghana is nowhere near China. Now we talk about Pan-Africanism. We believe that no nation is an island on its own. And we as Africans, we rise and fall together. Our collective dignity is linked together. So if as a nation like Ghana, we don't link up with other African nations, so that we form a very strong block. When we get to the international terrain, they will just pick us one by one and destroy us. And like Osachifo said, if we don't unite, a time is coming whereby they will just grab us one by one and destroy us. And they started with Lumumba. Osachifo, they dealt with Gaddafi recently. And look at what they've done to Zimbabwe. Now, recently the European Union brought this obnoxious and bogus agreement called the Economic Partnership Agreement. In this agreement, all that they are saying is that we should give them 80% tariff-free. And they will grant us 100% tariff-free. But you and I know that even in current dispensation, whereby there is even tariffs on European Union import to Ghana, how has our industry fared? And it's unfortunate that a certain president of this nation can say that he supported. And the so-called largest opposition party leader, Akufo-Addo, is asked a question about EPA. And all that he could tell this nation that he will go and bring Chairmanton, and later they will sit down and talk about it and see how it will benefit this nation. When in reality, that exposes the hypocrisy of the so-called two biggest parties. Because the EPA, as we stand now, Ghana is one of the countries that has initiated, which means that we have been given a time frame within which, if we don't comply, we are in trouble. Now, coming back to my main presentation, in the area of education, CPP acknowledges that education does not stand alone, because education, health, agriculture, and infrastructure are linked up. So now, when you look at the area of education, specifically for Western region, we are going to upgrade the University of Mines and Technology into a fully fledged technical university. We will increase their capacity such that they will churn out the engineers that will take over the oil industry. We are also going to build a second university in the Western North, because we think that Ghana needs more university than we have today. The second point about education is that we are also going to make sure we convert all the day schools into boarding schools. Our reason is that even though it's going to be costly to have a boarding school, but it is going to be a tool for national integration, because at that age, you realize that people from different ethnic groups come together, live within the same dormitories, and then we develop that kind of cohesion that will propel this nation forward. We are also looking at the area of health. In the area of health, we acknowledge the fact that health and education goes hand in hand. And a healthy population, at the macroeconomics of health, we know that a healthy population naturally boosts productivity, which contributes to the GDP of the country. At the micro level, every individual who is healthy, you and I are here this morning because we are healthy. So if you are healthy, you'll be able to work and earn enough income for yourself. When you look at the area of agriculture, agriculture is the bedrock of this nation, and we are aware of that. And it is the foundation of our industrialization. Our agriculture policy, as I've already said, is linked to education and health. We think that when somebody is well nourished, that individual will be able to fight any disease. Now, we've been talking about maternal mortality. We all know that pregnancy goes through 3 trimesters, and the first trimester of pregnancy is the most critical, because that is the time that the brain, the spinal cord, and the heart is formed. And if a woman is malnourished, chances are that the brain of that fetus will not develop well. So no wonder children from such malnourished mothers tend to have low memory, and they are not able to assimilate quick. They also develop congenital abnormalities like hole in heart immediately after birth. And you yourself know, even in Ghana, that we have only one cardio center. So if we don't take good care of our agriculture needs, we'll have ourselves to blame. In light of that, in the Western region, we are going to build a cocoa processing company, because we think that cocoa, as it stands now, the cocoa processing company at Tema, at best process about 60,000 metric tons a year. We want to build a company that process more than 100,000 metric tons, because when we are able to process it locally, we can then be able to consume, because cocoa has a lot of benefit from the body, because increased consumption of cocoa reduces free radicals, and it is also an antioxidant. We are also looking at infrastructure. Western region, the richest region in Ghana, is also the poorest in terms of infrastructure. I come from the eastern region, and when you go to some small villages and look at even the roads there, sometimes I ask, why is it that western region, you have this kind of route? So in the light of that, and we also acknowledge the fact that in the development of every nation, the rate at which or how fast you can move goods from one place to the other is very, very important. Therefore, we are going to revamp the railway sector. The NDC collapsed it, and they are now trying to do something, and they want us to applaud them. We have no applause for them because they destroyed it. Because if they have not destroyed the railway sector, today, even the number of people who would have been employed there would have been phenomenal. We are also going to look at the airport because we think that the oil that has been discovered in the western region, we need to facilitate quick movement of goods and services. And therefore, people should be able to travel quickly in and out of the western region. And one of the fastest means of traveling in the western region is through the air. We are also looking at the area of infrastructure. In the area of infrastructure, we are looking at social housing and sanitation. We think that this nation is suffering. Just go to Market Circle in the night and look at where people are sleeping. We are sitting on a time bomb. Just this morning, I was listening to a documentary on Joy FM about the gas processing plant and how people have been displaced. And you could see the sheer lack of, the sheer insensitivity on the part of the gas company because people planted these crops. That is where they find their livelihood. My daddy is a cocoa farmer. So can you imagine you coming to cut down my daddy's cocoa farm? That was the farm that was able to educate me to be here today to talk. And you don't tell me anything, and you tell me we'll come and see you later. A CPP government will not do that. When we look at even the housing area, we've heard people saying they are going to build 100,000 in 4 years, when in 8 years they were only able to manage 4,000. Others also promised us 30,000, and up to now, we are yet to see even a single room. CPP's track record shows that we are the only political party that has been able to do a meaningful housing project in this country. We are also going to look at irrigation dams. When you look at the whole of Western region, virtually every district has a major river. So we don't understand why there should be water shortages in the region. Because if we don't give the people of the Western region good drinking water, we are going to be exposed to diseases like cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and the rest. And we all know the burden it places on the national purse. Now let's come to the petroleum industry. The CPP's plan for the petroleum industry is not just some peanuts that we are going to get. And let me tell you here, when the CPP government comes, we are going to review all the oil contracts. We are not going to allow this 14% thing to go on. Because if a small country like Liberia could get 25%, then how can a country like Ghana not be able to get 40% for our oil? The same applies to mine. We just get only 5%. We think that if the negotiation even breaks down, we'll go the Chavez way. That is to nationalize. And now let's look at the area of oil. We have identified 10 major industries that CPP is going to develop to ensure that this region, and for that matter, the nation benefits. The first part is petroleum refinery. As I mentioned earlier on, we are going to build a refinery that will be able to refine at least 200 barrels of oil a day. We know that Nigeria, even though they are the largest, one of the largest producers of oil, they are also the largest importers of refined crude. Meanwhile, Korea, with no drop of oil, is the second largest exporter of refined crude. We are going to build the capacity of refinery in Ghana. The Takoradi refinery will revamp it and will make sure it works, and will build additional refinery in the western region, so that once that refinery is built, look at the industries that will come out of it. The first one, we are going to talk about LPG. We are no longer going to queue at Ajif to buy LPG. LPG will be in abundance. We are talking about diesel, petrol, lubricant, petroleum jelly, the one that is used for Vaseline. We can also talk about